My name is Anthony Colon. I'm originally from the Bronx, New York, 188th Street and Marion Avenue.
I want to show, the men and women that's formerly incarcerated that come home and that give back to their community. After the destruction, the devastation that they created prior to going to prison. Success after lockdown came about with my transformation.
Back in the block, I made it.
What's up, Scar?
What's going on? You already know.
Where are we?
We're right here back on the block, man, 188, between Webster and Marion. The hood is where it all took place at, man. This is my birthplace right here where I grew up at. This is what kind of molded me to who I am today. Not to brag, this was what we had. This is where we grew up at. This is what we survived, and a lot of us, people really didn't make it out of here.
What do you do now for a living?
What I do now, I own a transitional supportive living for mental health in the state of Florida. I have a caseload of about 40 residents right now. We're currently opening up another 40 beds. I have a podcast. I'm a published author. I'm a community leader, a motivational speaker. This is my first stop. Just stopping at two of my properties, either my female homes right here, this one here, and then you got this one here. I got staff that works over here, but I like to come through. They'll do a double check, make sure that everything is good. This is my beautiful beginnings home. Mail on. Everybody dressed? My residents check up on them, distribute medication, make sure that they get their medication. Hello? Make sure that they get the care that they need, and make sure that they're okay. Hand over hand. Over here. This is also my first sober living home, which is now dual diagnosed. Okay. Hey, Mike.
What's up?
How's it going? Happy holidays.
Thank you, man.
How you feeling?
Chilling.
How many years of your life have you given to the penal system?
I've given 22 and a half years of my life to the penal system, federal and state. The street that I grew up in before I started hanging around the corner on Marion, and there was something about Marion Ave and the guys over there that really captivated. Like, I love this block, but my heart was on Marion. I just lived on this block here, and as a kid we used to run up and down here playing tag and hide and go seek and everything. My house is right next to the Chinese restaurant, so there was 3 houses here. It was Adrian's house.
Oh, it's not even here no more.
Not even here no more. It was just like these. All these houses are all the same. At that time, looked like this house over here. Fucked up. Had a fucking roof, a hole in the rooftop. Matter of fact, my house was the only one that was a flat top. Everyone else had the attic up here.
Yeah.
Mine was a flat top, and we had a hole in the roof that when it rained inside the house. And me and my brothers, we grew up right here, but Mary sold 3 houses to sell it to Conway so they can open computers at the garage. It was just no more value to the house, to be honest with you. But it was home. It was home. And we used to jump from my house roof up on this roof here and go breaking through all the stores on Fordham Road. It was easy for us to get away with it, right? Like, my brother Jesse, rest in peace, and my brother-in-law Rick, and half the block, they used to come over here so we could go break in, because it was easy to break into the store, because the police have to come to the Fordham or something like that, but we'll come to the rooftop, get out and just come in the house and just chill. They ain't never think to go and check the fucking houses.
Your parents, who did you live with when you grew up?
So I lived in a broke down private house on Elm Street when I was got involved with the street I was living with. My mother, my 3 brothers, my sister. Upstairs, downstairs was my grandmother, my grandfather, and my uncle. Then when the crack era hit, it was all of us, my cousin, his girlfriend, and whoever out that needed a place to stay at that time in that house. My brothers and my sisters and everybody in the house was hooked on drugs, except for my mother and my grandmother. They never did no drugs. They didn't drink. I don't know how they survived as long as they did with all of us. But I felt that I always got the blunt end of the stick when I was still out there holding packs for the guys to make a little couple of bucks to buy a hat or a pair of sneakers or a shirt. I wasn't really making no real money. I just wanted to be a part of. So I get like $100, $150, so I go get me my little Timbs or my little outfit. And I remember one day I woke up and I was happy because I bought this brand new outfit. And I'll never forget, it was like the first time I got like a nice, real decent outfit. And I woke up and it was gone. And I mean, I was literally woke up in my underwears. And when I woke up, I seen everybody was beamed up. My brothers was all cracked out of their mind. And for some reason, I always got the ass whooping. My mother would beat me for what they did. So it was easy for me at that point to just move out and just move on. Yeah.
Where was your dad?
So my biological was always around. He never acknowledged me. He never accepted me. Man that was in my life at the time, may he rest in peace, Peter. He did the best that he could. He always loved me like his own son. But I always felt an outcast and outside of my own family. You know, I come to find out why though later on in life, that my mother had an affair with my biological behind the man she was with. You know what I'm saying? But he still accepted me for how I was and still raised me until he passed away. But you know, yeah, he'll come around, you know, the biological, and he would definitely see my other siblings. He came to visit my siblings, my two brothers and my sister. He would even bring a gift to my other brother that wasn't his, and everybody knew that. But for me, he despised me. And I remember one time, like, I didn't know no better. I was about maybe 8 or 9. I remember he come to the house, right, and he was coming upstairs. Now I got like really super excited. I don't know why, but I was a fucking kid. And he came in the house. He had these bags, and I kind of like just ran and hugged his leg and shit. And I remember he just like literally like shoved me and pushed me to the floor like if I was a fucking germ or something. But I recall that my father at that time that was raising me came in at that same exact time, and they had some words. And if it wasn't for him, I would probably be heartless and cold, to be honest with you. But the sense that I grew from that was that just because the child is not yours physically doesn't mean that you can't be that best father that you can. And I've always adapted that with any woman that I dated with in my life. I hate the word stepkid. Mm-hmm. I don't talk to that man. He's still alive. My sister just talked to me about him the other day. And I just literally have no emotions with him.
And so y'all don't have a relationship at all? Never
had one. I'm glad, I'm grateful. I wouldn't change anything in my past, but I believe it defined me to be who I am today. But it wasn't really a great memory in this house for me, to be honest with you. It was a fucking broken household. I really hated it, to be honest. I never got treated with no respect, with no love, nothing. It was just like I was just a little fucking in the way pissant. But it was my family. I didn't know nothing else.
What attracted you to the life when you were younger? Like, what was the stuff that you were into when you were a young man?
I was attracted to the lifestyle of the people that was living around the corner. You know, they had the nice clothes, they had the cars, they had the persona, they had the personality, they had everything I didn't.
Did the want of that lifestyle, it didn't deter you?
Good question. I do remember the first time I got arrested, and I remember I was about maybe 12 years old. I went to Sparfit, and for some odd reason, and oxymoron as this sounds like, it was almost like a badge of honor back then to get locked up and come home without a scar. And I remember the first time I went to Sparfit, I stood there 30 days. And I did that intentionally. I could have been home and within like 8-9 days, I intentionally told the judge, send me there, because I wanted to have more time in Sparfit than a friend of mine, Demo, rest in peace, who had did like 23 days in Sparfit. And I found that it didn't bother me. I instantly knew how to adapt and survive, and I was okay with that. I embraced whatever I'd done. I knew what the consequences was, and I just didn't care.
And you didn't worry about going to jail.
Going to jail just meant that I get to see the other friends that wasn't on the block.
How many times have you been inside?
4 times.
4 times? So like basically like roughly like 5 times every time, or?
No. So I've been up north 4 times. Each time I did about a minimum of 3 to 10 years.
Okay, I want to go back to the first time.
I was 12 and a half, 13. This was right after that. I got arrested with a 357, a bulletproof vest, and 237 barrels of crack. I remember the apartment. They brought them all into the apartment, trying to get me to tell on them. And it was like, oh, just say that, you work for these guys. We know they drugs, they guns, and whatever. And I just couldn't do it. I got sentenced to a year in Sparfit, and I wound up doing 4 years.
How did you get more time?
Good question. The thing about the Division of Youth system is that you can get sentenced to X amount of time, and you don't have to catch a new case to get extended time. They have what's called an extension of placement, meaning the more trouble you get while you're in locked up, when it's time for them to release you, if they don't have no one to release you to, that's 1. And 2, they can take all your infractions, your misbehavior report, and submit it to a judge for what's called an extension of placement, saying that you're not ready to go back home, that you're still a menace to society, you haven't learned nothing. And I believe my first year, I must have had maybe 40 something fights everywhere I went. It was just like something to prove. Like I just had this bad attitude. You looked at me, and there was always bigger kids, and a lot of times I got my ass kicked, but I always fought. And so every time it was time for me to come home, my mother didn't have a phone for them to contact. She was illiterate, so when they submitted a letter to her about me trying to come home, she never responded because she never read no letters. 2, they would go with all these infractions and misbehavior reports submitted to a judge, and when it was time for me to go home, and I'd be like excited, like, oh yeah, I'm coming home. They'd pull me in the office and say, yeah, Anthony, you're not going home. You're going to be here for another year. So in that transition, I did my first 4 years. So I was like 13 to like 17.
17. So how did that change you? What was on your mind? Like, what was your way of thinking when you came home that first time?
Truth be told, I never thought about success. Success wasn't a word that I was able to pronounce, let alone spell. Success for me meant back in the streets, trying to sell some drugs, trying to make some money, trying to make a name for myself. That was my success for me. That was the epitome of success to me, was stand-up guy. You know what I mean? He holds his own. He's not going to tell on you. He's definitely a fighter. He's definitely someone that you want on your corner. And yeah, let's get money with him.
That guy right there that you just told me about, how did that lead to your second time?
That same mentality, they didn't care. This is how I knew I was always a little different, because I was almost in a sense like Eric, Like my thing was always save money, stack money. I didn't always go and get fly and live, you know what I mean, for the next sale. I always saved money. But I always had a vision to always have like an establishment on the block. I've seen so many people have come out here and open up spots and shit. And I always wanted to, and I had that opportunity. And I opened up the restaurant. I put a lot of money into that, right? To do something, and then I turned around and started selling drugs out of there. And she just went to hell. What? but it was a learning experience. It taught me a lot about business and the business sense of mind that I have now, you know, and investments. Um, so that was a learning experience, and it was cool, you know. Just wanted to do something different. I got caught selling drugs in the neighborhood.
How old were you?
At this time, I think I was 19.
So you were in this home for like 2 years.
Yeah, and that 2 year stretch, I was bouncing in and out of state hustling. And the minute I got back to New York is when I got knocked again at 19. Went up north to do a 1 to 3, and then I got locked up again at 21.
What was that moment when you were locked up that you was like, you know what, this is it for me? Like, I'm not doing this shit no more.
I got sentenced to 3 to 9. I did 10 years. I moved out to Philly. My family, at this time, my brother got murdered. Nobody wanted me to come to New York. They all told me to go to Philly. So I went to Philly. Really, again, I really wanted to try. But I didn't put no effort into really no change. At this time, I had started to write, but I didn't really believe in myself. Right? I was still so caught up in between, like now having to really resentment, to be honest with you. Like, damn, yo, nobody want me back in New York. My family saying, yo, you can't come back here because we're afraid that you either gonna get killed or you're gonna kill somebody and not go back. You know what I mean? And you're gonna be a darn forever. And I moved out to Philly, but it wasn't until I moved down to Florida. I just came home 55 months ago. 1.5 years ago, I was sitting in another correctional facility for doing 5 years in Florida. I had to do a federal, did 3.5 years in feds and 14 months in the state, 2 consecutive sentences. It wasn't until these last 5 years that I was incarcerated that it registered and clicked. I just call it G&D, growth and development. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of always having these right intentions and not really seeing them through. So this time I kind of really buckled up and was like, you know what, like it's time to grow up. I started educating myself. I started going to school. I started taking these classes. I started applying myself. I really tried to apply myself. The best thing that I think I did was create a vision board. I started reading these good, amazing books and stuff like that. And I prayed that I said, yo, what do I want out of life? Like, what am I doing with myself? Right? Like, I know how to get money. I know how to get high. I know how to run the street. Right? I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to be in a monogamous relationship. I don't know how to do all these grown adult stuff that one should live to do. Right? I knew how to do all the negative stuff. So instead of hanging around with the people that was doing all the negative stuff and talking about the war stories in prison, right, that I heard 1,000 times because I had my own, I started hanging with the guys that was going to the law library still after being locked up 20-something years. I surrounded myself with the guys that was going to the psychology department to talk about relationship building, you know what I mean, emotional intelligence, and these things that can help a person to refocus and shift their mind. So you wanted to see what my life be like. Literally fucking 2 miles from my house. Delray Beach. Oh, yeah. This is what I have the luxury of doing. Just need to get my head clear. A little cloudy out. That's all good. If you know anything about South Florida, that shit don't mean nothing. It'll rain for 2 seconds, torrentously, horrible, and then the sun comes out and becomes muggy and hot. So we ain't tripping about that. But just look at that. Look at that beach view over there. Hold on. I had a vision. I had this crazy vision one day when I was locked up. And it was crazy that I went back to my block in the Bronx. And I had this vision that I went there and I'm thinking in my mind's eyes, oh, hood legend, Scarface is back. And everybody's like, yo, what's up, Scarface, right? This, that, and the third. And I run into this little young kid, don't even know the kid. And he just comes out there, he had the block on smash now, and he's telling everybody, yo, what the fuck are y'all all doing? What's going on? You know, y'all need to get back to work. I mean, I'm going to get some workers. And I'm thinking because of this person that I thought that I was, that everybody respected and feared so much, I had a vision. This kid came behind me and literally shot me in the back of my head and killed me. And I died and no one showed up to my funeral. That can be your reality. Stop living in your past. Focus your attention on something you want to do positive. And so I sat down, I took these classes, and I took this almost 3-year course called ICANN, and it was Inmate Change and Alternative Network. And I loved it. I freaking loved it. It actually really stimulated my mind in a way that drugs did for me, or the streets did for me, but it was positive. And I would sit to myself and I was just like, what do you want out of life, Anthony? What do you want? And as cliche it sounded, you know, I was like, man, I just want to fix my credit. You know, I'm like not learning about the credit. I'm like, I know my credit is horrible. I want to fix my credit. I just don't want to get back. I just didn't want to get violated again. That was my biggest thing, like to go home and not get violated again. So I was like, okay, first of all, I can't get high no more. I can't go drinking. I have to do the right thing. I want to buy a house one day. I want to be a father. And I just came home and I did it. I came home and I sat down with my wife. I went to work 10 days after I came home. And I remember the first day I get there. Supervisor tells me, she's talking to me like if I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. And she's already giving me a work assignment. She go, well, let's go take that computer over there. I'm like, okay. Literally 2 hours. I'm the only guy. Just came home from doing 5 years. I'm looking good. I'm ripped, right? I'm working in an office with literally 14, 15 women. I'm the only guy. So, you know, they all hee-hee-hi and all that, right? And it took me 2 hours to turn this computer on. It never dawned on me to check if it was plugged in. They giggled, the hee-hee-ha-has motivated me to go to work every day 2 hours before. Befriend this one girl named Alicia that was from the Bronx, Jamaican woman. And yes, learn everything I could from her. When it was time to clock out, I stood back to see who was working late to make sure they got something to eat so they could teach me what they was learning, what they knew. And within 6 months, I excelled from there. And my boss called me into the office and said, Anthony, I need that same motivation, that drive that you did with my billing company. I need that added to my admissions department. I need you to come into my admissions department and learn the system over there. So did that within 6 months. He's like, we need to sit down. I said, okay. He said, your motivation, your drive, and your hunger, and your thirst for knowledge to learn things is second to none. Throw me a number on what you want, because I need you to be the director of my admissions department. Now here goes the guy. Here goes the guy that was making, you know, $13, $14 an hour, to now asking to throw out a number that I want to make, you know what I mean, for a position that I didn't even think I was qualified for. Spoke to some people, we came to an understanding agreement, and that's what I did. I saved every dollar, every bonus. Stuck to my vision. I never got violated again. I completed both my parole for federal and state. I fixed my credit. 2 years ago, I bought my house. This last year, December 31st, I walked away from my job. I've now owned 6 other houses for my business. I published my book. It's part of the nonprofit organization that's there called Art of Recovery. Do this every year. It's been going on 5 years now. I make myself available to anybody that's struggling with drugs and alcohol. And I just signed up to do some volunteers at a juvenile facility in Florida. We destroy communities throughout the country in this neighborhood But we did what we had to do, what we had. No one, I don't think we had anyone as far as I can remember, because I looked up to Eric and Ralph and the older guys, and I don't think they had anyone to look up to or to guide them in the sense that we're trying to guide young men and women now today. Coming back here is bittersweet, always have been, never shy away from it. But like I said, you know, I don't know where my life would be at today had I had someone to push me to go to school or stay in school or to do something different. It was what it was. I make no excuses for whatever I've done in my life. You know, we're here now. You know, I'm 47 and my life has taken a tremendous transition into doing something back positive, helping people, caring for people, loving people, you know, recovering addict. You know, these streets almost swallowed me up, and I survived and I'm here. I truly believe that God puts us through testimonies and puts us through situations to push so that way you can appreciate when you get something good.
And come out a better person.
A better person.
Definitely.
I'm Anthony Cologne, and I did the time. The time didn't do me. Yes, man, I'm tired today.
With all of your shots,